Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of John Shannon and Todd Lewicki's going to join us in the segment after that. A reminder, our title sponsor is Able Auctions. Just before we get to John, I'm trying to find this one text here.
Yeah.
Because it actually backs me up, which doesn't happen all that often.
That's all we look for is in the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox.
Well, you always... Okay, I can't
I know,
find
you
it.
get mad because I respond to these texts.
We got a text backing Taylor saying fireworks and fountain shows are over.
Oh, right. That was Don in...
Sycamoose?
No, it was Dave and Cedar, actually.
I think it was Stephen Cloverdale.
No, it was...
Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's wrong. Donnie's wrong. It's just a little fun.
Here's somebody saying our poll question is dumb. Okay, that's good. Look at this. I can't find it.
It's right here. I'm with you, Donnie. Fireworks and fountains, big waste of money, Bob and Victoria.
Yeah. Don and Sycamoose.
Anyway.
Thank you.
We got 500 Dons and Steves and Johns. You got to get confused.
Okay. We have one John.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's John Shannon. NHL analyst, co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast. He joins us now. John, thanks for doing this, sir. I want to ask you about fountains and fireworks. How are you?
Kind of like New Year's Eve, a waste of time.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. The music never syncs up.
By the way, I have a question for Rick today.
Oh.
I want to know the 15% of agents that aren't good.
The 15 that don't return. Hey, John, the 15 that don't return my text.
Oh, that's it? That's how you measure?
Hey.
Because I'm not sure the other 85 would tell the truth ever. So it's okay.
There you go.
John, you know agents are hit and miss. There was one there was one guy, and I'm not going to name him. He had a Canuck client. He wouldn't return calls or text or email, and I ripped him in an email about 5 feet long. And you know what? I said, you got a client in the Canadian market. How do you not understand that? They're hit and miss. You know that, John.
Sure they are.
Text John the list after the show. John the list after the show.
Yeah, I'll text you the list.
I wanted to ask you this, John. I know it's been almost a week since the passing of Guy Lafleur, but you were on hockey or worked in Hockey Night in Canada for so long. How important was Guy Lafleur to that show?
Oh, listen, in the 70s, he was, before Wayne showed up in 79, Guy Lafleur was the superstar of superstars in the National Hockey League. When you think of what the Flyers did, what the Bruins did, Bobby had retired by 76. I mean, it was Lafleur's mantle to be that face, that player, to carry the National Hockey League on so many different levels, and he did it with such grace on the ice. He was truly an amazing hockey player, and a really good person. Never really got into the superstardom. Never. We were talking about how people get managed and treated. Guy Lafleur always said hello. Guy Lafleur was always pleasant. I can't remember how many times you'd see Guy outside a dressing room, usually between periods having a cigarette, and you'd stop and he'd have a conversation with you between periods. Yeah. I mean, he was an amazing guy that way. Yeah,
and we laugh at the smoking habit at the time, but now not so much.
No,
both him and Mike Bossy. I'm just going to ask you if you dealt with Guy much over the years. Obviously, John, as you said there, you did, and you tweeted out a photo of him and yourself and others at the 2015 Memorial Cup.
Yeah, Damien had the picture taken. Damien Cox. And,
okay.
I had actually forgotten Guy was on the show until the picture came up, and he was. Listen, in Quebec, we were in Quebec City at the time. It was his house, the old Colisée. I mean, it was an electric night. I will tell you one quick story about Lafleur. So I'm a young producer at Hockey Night in the late 70s. We're in Boston, staying at the Royal Sonesta Hotel. Scotty had rules for the team that they could actually drink in the hotel. He didn't want them going out, so he wanted them in the hotel. And one day on an off day, I walk into the bar, and they're sitting as 6 or 7 members of the Canadians having a beer. And I knew most of them. They waved me over, and I was lucky enough to sit with them, and Lafleur was part of the group. And the conversation carried on from what they were when I sat down, but it was in French. And Lafleur was the one who stopped the conversation. And he says, boys, John's with us now. He doesn't speak French very well. And he was right. We have to finish the conversation in English so that everybody can be part of the conversation. We invited him to sit with us. We better let him be part of the conversation. And I've never forgotten that.
How considerate. That says something about him.
So nice.
Switching gears, John, how much do you think of the Canucks' success under Bruce Boudreau has to do with not just what he can do with X's and O's and strategy and systems and things like that, but how much of it do you think has to do with his personality?
Certainly part of it, because I think what Bruce does is he puts a ton of the game in context. And can deal with players on a level that a lot of guys can't. And that's not a knock at Travis. That's not a knock at any other coach. But Bruce has a knack as a communicator. And I think he's able to call a spade a shovel. And that to me, and does it in a manner that I think the players appreciate it. I think they also appreciate the journey that Bruce has been on. And the passion he has for the game, and you know, he's in his mid-60s and has had 17 stops around professional hockey and still wants to be part of the game. But I also think he cuts to the quick and does it in a manner that the players appreciate. And the other guy I think you should give credit to that came in with Bruce, Scott Walker's done a really good job again.
Yeah.
Scotty Walker and the fascination for me there is that Boudreau and Walker didn't really know each other. They met because Bruce was supposed to coach the Spengler team at the Spengler Cup, and Scotty was going to be his assistant coach there, and they had enough conversations and meetings prior to the Canuck hiring that Bruce said, well, Scott, would you come back and work for the Canucks again and be my assistant coach? And that to me was a fascinating relationship, because I'm a huge Scott Walker fan. I got to know him really well in Guelph when he coached there, and obviously as a player. So Scott Walker deserves some credit too.
John, we are hearing the Canucks and Bruce are talking about an extension. They're trying to get something done. What's the latest? What are you hearing?
Well, I think we've all heard the same thing. The question becomes, will there be other options for Bruce? And let's face it, that's why Bruce negotiated the contract he did, is that he wants to have options. So, would I love him to see him back in Vancouver? Absolutely. I think it's a great fit. I think we've seen that with this team, with this fan base. But I think we just have to wait and see. If the Canucks want him back, I think Bruce is probably going to be in a position to say, well, I have an option too. And I'd like to, perhaps I'd like to see who else is out there that needs a coach. We don't know anybody that needs a coach yet, but there are still some interim tags on guys that in situations and scenarios for teams that might prove appealing for Bruce as well. And Bruce negotiated that when he negotiated his contract, and that's his right to be able to do that as well.
Vegas out of the playoffs last night, big story. Everybody's talking about it. How do you see this shaping up this offseason of Vegas, John? Fireworks or not?
Well, I think that's really the key question. I heard you guys talking about Bill Foley. We know he's demanding. Mm-hmm. We know he, like the fan base, got spoiled early there with an expectation with playoff revenue, guys, and so the bottom line for the Golden Knights is they're not going to make any playoff revenue this year. And let's face it, he's a moneymaker, he's an entrepreneur, and he wants that. So the question becomes is what the relationship with the three guys that are driving the boat. The relationship with George, solid, probably. With Kelly, probably. With Pete DeBoer, who knows? And I think that'll be a decision at some point. I think that between the four of them, that something, maybe nothing happens, but I'm sure there'll be conversations about what goes forward. Because you're right, and they've depleted their team to win now, and they do have a pretty good core, but it didn't prove to work very well when you consider that they went 3-3-4 in their last 10 games.
And very, very quickly, John, Ron Morehouse, CEO, leaves the Penguins after 16 years. What does that mean for Brian Burke?
David Morehouse, yeah. David
sorry.
Morehouse, yeah. David Morehouse, by the way, who was part of Bill Clinton's campaigns for a couple of elections, and got the job because Ron Burkle and Clinton are very close. Morehouse leaving, I think, we're talking about a change of ownership there this year too, because remember, John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group now own the Penguins. And I just think that they need to put their own person in place. I think eventually Brian will end up just being what he was, the president of hockey ops, and he and Ron Hextall are in a position at this point to make sure the Penguins can continue to be a factor in the Eastern Conference.
John, just so you know, you can impress your friends with this. Ron Morehouse used to play for the BC Lions.
Oh, no, I know who Ron Morehouse is.
I got my signals crossed there.
Yeah. That was when Lefty Hendrickson was my favorite tight end.
Oh, my gosh. Very, very good. He was no Merced Solis, but he was close.
No, that and I will tell you, my favorite player of all time, and to this day, is still Norm Fieldgate. So
yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Empire Stadium days. John, thanks for this. Appreciate it. We could go on about this. I will.